Discover the incredible love story, how a billionaire's hidden connection with a construction worker could change everything. Sarah's eyes scanned the blueprints spread out before her, each line representing a dream longing to rise from the ground. She could almost visualize the community center taking shape, a monument to hope in a town littered with crumbling facades. But an unsettling knot twisted in her stomach, constricting her breath as reminders of her reality crashed against her ambitions. Did she truly have what it took to stand up against the corruption threatening her project? It felt insurmountable, especially with the man she had begun to care for Michael tangled in the very web she aimed to unravel. Every morning, she pulled on her steel-toed boots, a ritual steeped in resolve. Her grandfather's voice echoed in her mind, urging her to rise above the doubts that crept in, especially as the only woman on site. Others often overlooked her, an obstacle in a man's world. Yet, her determination propelled her forward, fueled by the faces she hoped to uplift. But now, with Michael's tie to the corruption weighing heavy within her, she faced a moral dilemma that gnawed at her insides. What would her grandfather say? When ambition clashes with love, can true integrity withstand the fallout? As the sun rose over the skyline, the weight of both men and dreams pressed down on her. She couldn't shake the realization that Michael's corporate interests could sacrifice everything she believed in. With every steel beam they raised, whispers of the corrupt city official, who groped for power at the expense of her project, echoed in her mind, each conversation shared with Michael making her more aware of the hidden layers that connected them. His fascination with crafting beauty from necessity unveiled a truth she was too scared to confront. Could she really expose his family's legacy, or would she shield him and potentially lose everything she had fought for? Questions rose inside her like smoke. Tension spasmed across her muscles, and her mind raced as she imagined the consequences. If she went after the evidence she had been anonymously tipped off about, would it bring the ruin of Michael's company? Or would it validate her purpose? She bit her lip, the taste of uncertainty sharp and bitter. It was a grand leap into an abyss, a choice that held the power to determine not just her path, but Michael's too. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue, but the crumpled note felt like a weight in her pocket, a burden steeped in betrayals yet to be revealed. She had to act, she could feel it in her bones. Her heart wrestled with its own fear. Stepping forth meant risking the fragile connection blooming between her and Michael. Every heartbeat repeated a desperate refrain, could there be love in a world so entwined with deception? At that moment, with the sunlight cascading through gaps in construction beams, casting long shadows, she stood at the precipice of choice. Would she risk it all for justice, or sacrifice her burgeoning love in the process? As anguish coiled within her, she felt trapped between the values instilled by her grandfather and the intoxicating pull of Michael's conflicting truths. The storm of decisions raged on, and Sarah realized she stood on the edge of a forked path, feeling lost in the night. The morning air was crisp, yet the warmth of the sun filtered through the revamped construction site, offering a contradictory sense of comfort against the gnawing turmoil in Sarah's heart. With each passing day, the walls of uncertainty surrounded her more tightly. She had watched Michael navigate the complexities of his world with a certain skill, exuding confidence and charm, traits she admired but struggled to reconcile with the implications of his family's name. As she meticulously reviewed the blueprints once more, Sarah felt the need to confront her growing feelings. Her attraction to him, compounded by the intimacy they had shared, had trained a spotlight on her vulnerability. Did she dare believe that their connection could transcend the shadows of corruption? She took a contemplative breath, pushing the thought aside. This project symbolized years of her hard work, not just for her, but as an homage to her late grandfather's teachings: honesty, perseverance, and integrity. Focus, she instructed herself, hands steadying on the paper. She had to remain resolute. She skimmed over the crumpled note in her pocket, a constant reminder that within every blueprint there was the potential for destruction. When Michael approached her with that easy smile, she felt a jolt of warmth. "Hey, Sarah. Ready to tackle today?" His enthusiasm radiated. Sarah's heart tugged. She remembered the way they had strategized late into the night, sharing dreams of bright futures. "Absolutely," she answered, though uncertainty pricked her with every word. As they moved through the day's tasks, she couldn't shake her internal battle. The more time she spent with him, the clearer it became that he was unaware of the corruption threatening the foundation of what they were building together. She had a choice to make: should she engage him in a conversation about the rumors, sealing off her emotions, or should she allow herself to be swept away simply by the allure of his presence, despite the potential disaster lurking just outside their bubble? Choosing the former felt like brandishing a weapon. Yet, she couldn't ignore the quiet rage bubbling just beneath her surface. Michael deserved the truth, she reminded herself, even if it shattered what they were slowly building together. Later, as the sun began to dip low in the sky, she felt the moment had come. They found themselves alone, frames of steel towering against the sunset, gilding the raw materials around them in a soft gold. It felt intimate, and yet, fraught with tension. "Can we talk?" she asked. The tremor in her voice betrayed her confidence, a spark of vulnerability spilling forth as the weight of her dilemma manifested into words. "Of course. What is on your mind?" His brow furrowed in concern, keen to listen. Sarah took a deep breath before plunging into the conversation. "They're saying there might be some corruption tied to this project. I think it could affect us." She hesitated, gauging his reaction. His expression was unreadable, eyes scanning her face as if searching for an unspoken truth. "Corruption? What do you mean?" The question hung heavy in the air, tension bristling between them. Sarah felt her pulse racing. This was at the precipice of exposure, where love met the harsh glare of reality. Would he support her, or would it plunge them into a chasm of conflict? "I have evidence," she said, her voice steadying with every word. At his pace, he grasped her hand, a silent declaration amidst the swirling chaos, his touch a grounding force. As heartbeats synchronized, Sarah realized this conversation could fracture or fortify their connection. The moment of truth was upon them, each second stretching into infinity, as the sun's last rays dipped below the horizon. Would love stand resilient against the tide of truth? The answer loomed dangerously close, but for now, a storm swirled around them, waiting to burst forth. In the unfolding silence, she awaited the answer that could change everything. Light faded from the sky as shadows danced ominously around Sarah and Michael, the air thick with uncertainty. Her heart beat a frantic rhythm, every pulse echoing her fears. The critical moment had arrived, and now words loomed heavy in the space between them. She craved clarity but feared the walls they had erected might be crumbling with the truth. "Evidence," Michael repeated, as if testing the word, letting it roll off his tongue. Confusion flickered across his face, an expression that twisted something inside Sarah. Did he understand the stakes? "Yes," she replied, each syllable feeling like it carved a notch deeper into her resolve. "There are papers, contracts where funds are misallocated, and potential kickbacks that directly impact our work. It's not good, Michael." His brow furrowed further, and for the first time, Sarah noticed the slightest emphasis on the way he scrutinized her. This wasn't just about financial loss, she realized. It was about trust, ethics, and the foundation of what they had together both in business and beyond. "What do you think we should do?" he finally asked, his voice steadying, but his eyes reflected a torrent of uncertainty. There it was, a crack in his confident exterior. This was his moment to shine, or to falter. "I think we need to report it," she urged, passion igniting her words. "I will not stand by and let this thing fester. I want to risk everything we've built." He paused, digesting her fervor, measuring the balance of her courage against the implications. "You realize if we move forward, it could put everything at risk." "My family, your family?" she interrupted, unable to suppress the passion driving her voice. "We're talking about integrity here, not just family ties. If they're involved, it doesn't matter how much clout they have. This is bigger than either of us." As the tension escalating like construction scaffolding amidst looming deadlines, Michael's jaw clenched. The struggle was evident, his instinctual loyalty to his family on one side, and a burgeoning respect and attraction towards her, and possibly, a sense of duty on the other. "What if I can talk them out of this?" he suggested, desperation creeping into his tone. "Negotiate my way through it." Negotiate. The incredulity hung in the air like fallen dust from the unfinished beam surrounding them. "You think they'll just change their minds? This is about principles, Michael, not bargaining chips." For a moment, silence enveloped them, and Sarah could see the inner turmoil playing out in his eyes. This wasn't just a professional crossroads, it was deeply personal. She had opened her heart to him, and now the door between his sincerity and his possible betrayal hung by a thread. "Sarah," he finally said, as if drawing on an unseen well of determination, "I believe in your vision for this project. I believe in your integrity. But you have to know what." Her impatience thrummed with urgency. There's more at stake here than just us. The gravity of his words sunk deep, turning her stomach. In that moment, Sarah understood his hesitation, the fear that anchored his thoughts back to family obligations and financial fallout. Yet she felt the swell of her own purpose rise. Then I will fight this myself if I have to, she declared, embodying the spirit of self-reliance her grandfather had instilled in her. It felt uncomfortable, yet liberating to stake her claim in a situation so fraught with tension. She disengaged from his hold, stepping back, reasserting her independence, allowing the emotions to thrum through her veins as she glanced at the now shadowed construction site. She had chosen to confront corruption and illuminate the truth. But as she turned to leave, Michael grasped her arm gently, his voice low but urgent. Don't you realize that you're not alone in fighting this? I might be tied to them, but I care about what is right. I will help you. Relief, intermingled with fear, washed over her. They were both venturing into uncertain territory, but now they had formed an alliance based on transparency, a connection anchored in the truth. Together then, she murmured, heart racing anew. Though a partnership forged in adversity might bloom, she still sensed an enveloping storm ahead. They were teetering at the brink of a whirlwind that would test everything. Let us do this. But we need to be careful, he added, determination kindling in his gaze. Yeah, careful, she replied, the weight of the night pressing down as their path ahead darkened. Their resolve unshakable, yet the shadows seemed to pulse with secrets, hinting at dangers lurking just beyond sight. As they plotted their course, Sarah's heart fluttered with anxiety and anticipation. This was only the beginning, and going forward would demand every ounce of strength they had both individually and together. What hidden forces lay waiting to unravel their plans? The journey had only just begun, but one thing was certain, navigating the murky waters of loyalty and love would reveal truths neither of them were expecting to confront. The next morning brought a hesitant light, breaking through the remnants of Sarah's restless night. She sat at her kitchen table, staring at the untouched remains of breakfast while the gravity of yesterday's conversation weighed heavily on her shoulders. The prospect of uncovering corruption with Michael had ignited a determination within her, but uncertainty lingered like a specter. Would their alliance only serve to deepen the complexity of their relationship? With a deep breath, she picked up her phone and scrolled through the contacts. There was no going back now. She needed to gather more evidence to bolster their position, and that required contacting her old colleague, Marissa, who had connections with regulatory agencies. Hey, it's me, Sarah said when Marissa answered, her tone conveying the urgency she felt. Sarah. Long time no speak. What is going on? Marissa replied, a note of curiosity in her voice. I need your help. It's about a construction project I'm currently working on. I've stumbled upon some irregularities, and I need to know how to report them properly. Marissa's laughter faded, replaced by seriousness. Is it serious? Because you know this can spiral out of control fast. It is serious, Sarah confirmed, swallowing hard. I think there are financial misallocations, and wait, you're working alongside Michael, right? This is complicating things, isn't it? Exactly why I need your guidance. I can't afford to hesitate. Integrity is at risk here. After a brief discussion, Marissa offered to help Sarah compile necessary documents and even suggested a secure line for communication. As they ended the call, Sarah felt a flicker of hope ignite, but doubt soon wove its way back into her thoughts. She glanced at the clock. 9 a.m. time to meet Michael. Their first strategy session needed to be flawless. But nerves stirred, tangled with anticipation. What if Michael's connection to the wrongdoing ran deeper than he had admitted? Arriving at the construction site, she took a deep breath before stepping out of her car. The sight of the unfinished building loomed large, a testament to both ambition and ethical dilemmas. She spotted Michael near the entrance, his posture taut with expectation. Morning, she said, forcing a smile as she approached. Ready to dive into this? Absolutely, he replied, his solid demeanor reassuring yet masking his underlying anxiety. I've reached out to Marissa. She'll help us gather evidence, but we need to be tactical about this, she began, their conversation flowing with urgency. Right. We need to ensure we don't trigger any alarms. I can start looking into internal communications, see if there are discrepancies there. Sarah noted the way his eyes lit up with determination. This was the Michael she had come to respect, driven, resourceful, fearless. Just be careful. If they catch wind of what we are doing, "I'll be discreet," he promised, but the tension beneath his calm facade was palpable. As they laid out their plans, Sarah felt a renewed sense of agency. Every piece of information they gathered would deepen their understanding, strengthening their resolve. But that empowerment came with an unsettling realization: the closer they got to the truth, the more danger they invited. "This is going to take time," Michael cautioned. "We need to be in sync every step of the way." "I'm all in," she replied, feeling a blend of hope and dread. Yet as they initiated their covert investigation, Sarah realized their greatest asset wasn't just the information they sought but the trust they began to form. But moments of revelation revealed her vulnerabilities. What if this partnership blurred their lines further? Could love and duty coexist in a hostile environment? Hours slipped by as they surrounded themselves with whispered plans and wary glances. Each minute tethered them closer to potential betrayal, both external and possibly from within. As they each left the site for the day, a profound unease settled within her. Sarah's heart raced not just from the thrill of uncovering the truth, but from an underlying dread about what it would mean for her relationship with Michael. Standing outside, shadows lengthening as dusk descended, she took a moment to collect herself. The stakes were inching higher with every decision they made. Would their commitment to truth fortify their bond, or would it expose cracks neither was prepared for? Walking toward her car, adrenaline surged as anticipation mingled with trepidation. She understood now that the journey would not only reveal the hidden corruption they aimed to expose but also testing the very fabric of who they believed they were, and how far they were willing to go for one another. But what truths lay behind the curtain of loyalty? The next day would unveil new challenges, and Sarah sensed they were on the brink of something much larger than themselves. The following day, as the sun rose to reveal a vivid blue sky, Sarah awoke with a renewed sense of purpose. Her mind raced with the plans she and Michael had laid out. Yet beneath this determination lay an undercurrent of disquiet that she couldn't shake. How far was she willing to push for the truth? She arrived at the construction site early, eager to dig deeper into the investigation. The sight of half-finished walls and scattered equipment mirrored her tumultuous thoughts. Both stood in a state of precarious balance, fraught with potentiality but weighed down by risk. As she stepped inside, the air was heavy with intent and ambition. "Hey, I've got something," Michael said as she approached him, his brows knotted with concentration. He held a binder filled with documents that he had managed to obtain discreetly. The commitment written all over his face fueled her resolve, but it also ignited a flame of anxiety. In unraveling this mystery, were they unraveling each other as well? "What have you found?" she asked, feeling the gravity of their task push down on her shoulders. "There are discrepancies in the expense reports," he replied, flipping through the pages. "That's not all, there are approvals here that don't match up with the project as scope. They're inflating costs." Her pulse quickened. The stakes were higher than either of them had anticipated. As Michael continued detailing the irregularities, Sarah's thoughts drifted to the implications. What would happen when they presented this information? Just as she was about to voice her concerns, an overwhelming realization struck her. She was standing at a crossroads. Her professional integrity clashed with the emotional turbulence brewing between her and Michael. "Michael," she started, catching his attention, "what if this doesn't end well for us? What if we find something that ties you even closer to the wrongdoing?" He paused, taking in her words. "If we're doing this in the right way, we'll ensure it comes out clean. I'll back you up on this. I promise, no matter what." Her heart pounded. There was sincerity in his reassurance, but she couldn't shake the feeling of impending peril. They were uncovering a web of deceit that could cost both of them more than just professional reputations. "I'm willing to take the risk. But my career is everything to me, Michael. I have to know you'll be honest with me through this. Can you promise me that?" He nodded, the weight of her gaze pulling him into a serious promise. "I won't let anything compromise this, I swear." That oath, while earnest, raised a knowing doubt. What if secrets buried deeper than the surface became the fulcrum of their trust? They spent the day poring over documents, searching for concrete evidence to challenge the corporate malfeasance. As they worked, Sarah felt an awakening within herself, a strength she had forgotten existed. With each piece of the puzzle they uncovered, she began to trust her instincts more, challenge her fears, and, above all, assert her agency. However, this newfound power came at a cost. Each discovery wove a narrative that threatened to fray the delicate threads of her relationship with Michael. The closer they grew to reveal the truth, the more she pondered the nature of their feelings. Were they two partners against corruption, or had they become far too entwined in each other's lives? As the sun dipped below the skyline, casting long shadows across the sight, Sarah caught her breath. She was standing on the precipice of not just an ethical dilemma, but a personal one. Decisions lay before her like unturned stones, each could lead to enlightenment or downfall. Would she allow her emotions to cloud her judgment, or could she navigate the murky waters to safeguard both her career and heart? Walking away from the site at dusk, the chill of uncertainty washed over her. It was no longer just about corruption, it was about the integrity of their partnership and all that could be lost. As Sarah slipped into her car, the edges of clarity sharpened. Tomorrow would be crucial, bringing them closer to revelations both about the project and about each other. What hidden truths awaited them at the juncture of loyalty and ambition? The morning air was crisp as Sarah returned to the construction site, a sense of purpose invigorating her steps. The uncertainty from the previous day lingered, but it fueled her determination rather than paralyzed her. Today would be different. She would seize control of both the investigation and her emotional landscape. As she navigated through the skeletal structure of the building, she felt the weight of her past decisions pressing on her. Each step echoed not only the physical foundation of the project but also the fragile footing she found herself on in her relationship with Michael. Today, her focus would be on clarity. "Sarah, there you are," Michael exclaimed, meeting her in the main area of the site. His enthusiasm was palpable, but so was the tension woven into the edges of his smile. "You won't believe what I found last night." Before he could unfold further, she raised a hand, steeling herself. "Michael, we need to talk." "About us?" He slowed, brow furrowing with concern. "About us?" "Yes." "I can't ignore it anymore," she replied, summoning her resolve. "I'm worried that these personal feelings are clouding our judgment. We need to stay focused on the work." He shifted, the uncharacteristic vulnerability in his demeanor revealing the depth of his own conflicting emotions. "I get that, but I can't pretend that everything is just business. I care about you, Sarah. But I'll respect what you need. Just know that I'm all in on this." Sarah's heart raced, struggling against the logical train of thought she was trying to maintain. For once, she realized that feeling something for him didn't have to be a weakness, it could be a source of strength. "Let us put aside the feelings until this investigation is resolved," she suggested, her voice steady with newfound conviction. "But if I trust you to be honest with me, you have to trust that I can separate my emotions from our professional goals." There was a moment of silence thick with unspoken understanding. Michael nodded slowly, and she felt an undercurrent of mutual respect surging between them. "Okay, focus on the task," he replied finally, determination rekindled. "Let us dig deeper into the irregularities." With that, they set to work. Hours passed as they pored over documents, investigating connections and uncovering more telling details. Sarah dove into spreadsheets, her analytical mind piecing together patterns in the numbers. The weight of the past lifted slightly as she realized how far her critical thinking had evolved. She was no longer just a cog in the machine but a driving force behind uncovering the truth. While sifting through a particularly convoluted series of emails, one thread stood out. It contained not just discrepancies but also internal communications that hinted at larger implications. "Michael, look at this," she called out, holding out her phone. "They're talking about budget cuts and reallocating funds to unapproved sub-projects. This is bigger than just inflated costs." His eyes widened as he read the emails. "This could lead us to senior management," he observed, the urgency in his voice igniting a fire within her. They worked together seamlessly, tapping into each other's strengths, unraveling layers of deceit that painted a clearer picture of the corruption, but with each revelation came a renewed tension that they could no longer ignore. Lines they wished to keep separate blurred, and the very foundation of their partnership began to tremble under the weight of their discoveries. Were they still simply colleagues, or had they become something far more complicated? As the day progressed into twilight, she felt a breakthrough not just in the investigation but within herself. Relationships, Sarah realized, weren't always a distraction, they could also provide insight and motivation to strive for greater accountability both personally and professionally. Driving home that evening, the glow of streetlights illuminated her path, but their light could do little to brighten the shadows of uncertainty that loomed. The stakes were rising, and she could sense the tension coiling tighter. With every step forward, her resolve to expose the truth grew, but so did the question of whether the truth might ultimately fracture their fragile friendship. What unforeseen challenges awaited them in the dark recesses of corporate intrigue? The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, but Sarah's thoughts were far from the picturesque landscape. Her mind was a tumult of analysis and emotion as she replayed the events of the day. Each exchange with Michael echoed in her mind, blurring the lines between professional integrity and personal connection. She needed clarity before the storm of revelations engulfed them both. Arriving home, she placed the files and documents on the dining table, her hands grounding themselves on the surface as she stared into space. The revelation of misallocated funds had opened a door she was fully prepared to step through. What would it mean to confront those higher up, to challenge the established order? As fear and adrenaline swirled, Sarah realized her commitment to truth and accountability clashed with the potential fallout from exposing it. She took a deep breath, her resolve hardening. This was not just about an investigation, it was about her growth, her mission to mold an environment that valued transparency. Whatever her relationship with Michael evolved into, she had to remain steadfast in her purpose. Her phone buzzed, breaking her reverie. It was Michael, a simple text that read, "We need to talk again tomorrow. Urgent." The word urgent sent her heart racing. What more was there to uncover? As anxiety gripped her, she noted the complexity of her feelings, a mix of fear over repercussions and a yearning for more depth in her exchanges with him. She couldn't afford to let herself get distracted. Focus was paramount. The next morning dawned, bright but stark, as if nature was challenging her to confront the unknown. Approaching the construction site felt different. There was an air of anticipation mingled with tension. Michael was already waiting for her, his expression unreadable, causing a whirlpool of questions to form in her mind. "Sarah," he began, voice laced with urgency. "I didn't want to alarm you yesterday, but I uncovered something that changes everything." "What is it?" she replied, suppressing the tidal wave of anxiety swelling within her. "I went through some connections within the company. It turns out, someone is aware of our investigation. They've been monitoring our activities," he explained, his eyes darting around as if the walls had ears. Fear gripped her, threatening to derail her focus. "Do they know about the emails? The discrepancies?" "Not yet," he said, urgency lacing his words. "But we have to move fast. If they catch on, they'll bury this for good, and we could be in serious trouble." Sarah felt the pressure of the situation blanket her. The stakes were escalating. This was her moment to leverage the growth she had achieved over the past few weeks. "Can I really do this?" she thought. Defiance towards the dishonesty of those in power surged within her as she recalled the investments they had made for the sake of integrity. "Then we need a plan," she stated, a newfound confidence guiding her. "We can't shy away now. The truth matters more than our comfort. We have to expose this." Michael nodded, the tension in his expression easing slightly. "I'm with you. Whatever it takes." As they strategized under the skeletal structure, Sarah felt herself leaning into the challenge instead of retreating. This was more than a project, it was a defining moment. She was transforming, unearthing strengths she had never known she possessed. But with the undercurrents of their personal relationship still lingering, she knew clarity was needed. What would it mean to fight together despite the emotional complications? The sun rose higher, casting long shadows across the site, a metaphor for the truth lurking just beyond their grasp. She thought about all the times she had doubted herself, and it struck her fiercely that fear could no longer dictate her actions. She was ready to fight for what she believed in, but with each passing moment, a haunting realization crept in. Confronting hidden corruption meant facing the very forces that threatened to fracture her vulnerable partnership with Michael. The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken truths. What would come next as they prepared to confront these unseen adversaries, and how would their fragile partnership withstand the pressure of the truth they were determined to expose? Sarah and Michael stood beneath the sprawling framework of the construction site, each moment thick with pause and anticipation. Tension bubbled in the space between them, the weight of unspoken words mingling with the looming threat they faced. They had a shared mission, yet the prospect of uncovering corruption paled against the complexity of their budding relationship. She glanced at Michael, overwhelmed by the vulnerability of their situation. Did he sense that their collaboration over this investigation was turning into something deeper? Not knowing where they stood, she focused on the files spread before her, desperately seeking grounding in their shared purpose. "Let us break it down step by step," she said, pulling herself back into the present, her professional demeanor steel-plated against doubt. "We need evidence, solid proof to present to management. If we can tie the funds directly to someone responsible, we'll have leverage." Michael leaned in, their proximity igniting a flicker of tension that Sarah found both intoxicating and terrifying. "I can arrange for a meeting with the financial team. They won't see it coming, but it gives us a chance to extract necessary data discreetly, he suggested. Sarah made a mental note. The financial team was pivotal. They spent countless late nights sifting through project budgets. We need to be careful about what source information we use, she cautioned. If they suspect anything, it could jeopardize everything we've worked for. She could see the determination in Michael's eyes. Each glimmer reflected a layer of commitment that made her heart race and her mind whirl with possibilities. And what about you? She asked, curiosity escaping her lips. What do you think is at stake for you personally? His expression shifted, revealing a flicker of surprise. You're right. It's easier to focus on the task at hand than to think about the implications. He hesitated, and Sarah could practically see the thoughts crossing his mind. The stakes are high, but I can't back down either. This is about integrity for me, too. It's more than just a job. She nodded, appreciating the depth of his resolve. As they mapped out their strategy, Sarah felt a sense of clarity wash over her. This was the moment she had both craved and feared, the opportunity to redefine not just her career trajectory, but her interaction with others, particularly with Michael. The urgency pressed on her. She sensed their time was limited. It beckoned her to take control, to forge ahead and not let her apprehensions get the best of her. Okay, let us finalize our plan, she said decisively, striving to mask the quiver of uncertainty clawing at her. Once we have the details, let us prepare for confrontation. We'll need to present data and protect ourselves before it's too late. As they drafted timelines and responsibilities, Sarah's mind raced through the possibilities. This was more than a professional challenge, it was a personal trial of growth. Could she confront not only the truths of the organization but also navigate the intricate labyrinth that was her dynamic with Michael? A subtle tension hung in the air, teasing the boundary between fear and exhilaration. More than the stakes involved, she realized it was the call to action that ignited her spirit. She wasn't just fighting for truth within the organization, she was discovering her identity in the process. But beneath this newfound empowerment lay a gnawing question: how would their partnership evolve amidst the chaos? Would the tension they had cultivated give way to something deeper, or would it unravel entirely in the face of opposing forces they didn't fully understand? As they wrapped up their discussion, Sarah felt a sudden chill, a reminder that clarity often comes at a cost. With their plan set, a resolute determination filled her, edging her toward the line of commitment. Yet with the new knowledge of hidden adversaries looming, she knew their next steps would demand every ounce of courage they could muster. The moment of truth drew near, and with it, the realization hit her: they were about to step into territory that could either solidify their resolve or rip apart the very fabric of what they were beginning to build. Tomorrow loomed ahead, promising confrontation but also the potential to rewrite the future. What truths would emerge as they gamble on their newfound commitment? The dawn arrived with a sense of urgency, the golden light spilling through the blinds of Sarah's apartment, leaving streaks of brightness against the shadows of her unresolved thoughts. She moved through her morning routine in a daze, the weight of the upcoming meeting with the financial team heavy upon her. Today would reveal not only the depths of corporate corruption but also test her own resolve in the face of fear. As she buttoned her blazer, she caught sight of her reflection in the mirror. The woman staring back seemed different, stronger than the reflection she had once dismissed. In the chat with Michael last night, she had sensed a shift in herself, an awakening of sorts. Not only was she determined to uncover the truth, but she was ready to assert herself in ways she had never imagined possible. Yet, she also felt the fragile nature of their partnership trembling at the edges, poised to either grow or fracture. Arriving at the office, the bustling activity around her felt both invigorating and overwhelming. Colleagues greeted her with smiles, but Sarah knew that beneath the surface of everyday chatter lurked an unsteady ecosystem. Everyone was playing their part, but how many were complicit in the corruption they sought to expose? A pang of distrust stirred within her. She found a quiet corner to gather her thoughts before the meeting. The precise cadence of her breathing steadied her racing heart, and she reminded herself of the mission at hand. She mentally rehearsed the evidence they had gathered, the connections they felt sure would lead them to the heart of the deceit. Suddenly, a text from Michael interrupted her focus, pulling her back to the reality of their fragile alliance. Ready for this? Meet me in the conference room. I'll be waiting. His words were a calming balm. With a resolute nod to her reflection, she headed toward the conference room, allowing the anticipation to fuel the resolve within her. As she entered, Michael was already seated at the table, his brow slightly furrowed as he reviewed some documents. The sight of him sparked a heady mixture of admiration and anxiety within her. They were in this together, yet the stakes seemed to grow with each tick of the clock. Just in time, he said, his eyes lifting from the papers. The moment their eyes locked, a surge of shared purpose ignited. It was a quick glance, but for Sarah, it held countless unspoken promises and fears. This was no longer just about uncovering corruption, it had morphed into a deeper inquiry about their connection with the financial team. Trickling in, the atmosphere shifted. Sarah felt a knot in her stomach tighten. She caught Michael's gaze again, and a lingering question passed between them. The stakes were not only professional. How would they handle the personal complexities that were starting to emerge? The meeting began, and Sarah's nerves sharpened her focus. Each voice, each question aimed to dissect the financial structures they were grappling with, came across as a tennis match where she had to stay constantly alert. She mixed her own strategic insights with Michael's quieter observations, gradually revealing layers of the financial puzzle. It was overwhelming and exhilarating. She began to feel like a once-muted instrument coming to life. As the conversation unveiled discrepancies in the budget reports, Sarah sensed the tide shifting. Their evidence was compelling, perhaps more than they initially anticipated. Each revelation coaxed hope but mixed it with anxiety about how the financial team would respond. The pivotal moment arrived when one of the team members raised an eyebrow, scrutinizing the data they uncovered. "This can't be right," he stated, flipping through the pages. "It seems too convenient that these inconsistencies emerged just now." Tension radiated throughout the room, and in her chest, Sarah's heart pounded harder. Was this the moment they had prepared for, or would it expose vulnerabilities they weren't ready to face? In that instant, the reality of the endeavor crashed in on her. She had come here to seek the truth, but now the truth felt dangerously close to unraveling everything she had rushed to build, both the investigation and her bond with Michael. Would they emerge either victorious or defeated? Facing the complexities felt daunting, but one thing was clear: the journey was merely beginning, and with it, a newfound resolve burned brightly within her. As she steeled herself for the confrontation ahead, a deeply buried fear began to surface. Would the price of their fight for justice shake the foundations of the trust they had slowly begun to build? The next words out of the financial manager's mouth held the power to change everything. Would they crumble under scrutiny or rise stronger than before? With careful calculation, Sarah steadied her breathing as she found herself at the edge of a crucial moment. Each heartbeat resonated with the gravity of their situation. This wasn't just a meeting, it represented the culmination of her hard work and the precarious balance she had struck between her ethics and her relationship with Michael. "Let us present our findings again," she suggested, her voice the calm amidst the storm of tension. Michael met her gaze. There was an unspoken understanding that they were both on the precipice of something life-changing. As they revisited the documents, detailing the discrepancies within the budget, Sarah felt her confidence bloom. She was proud of the skills she had honed, skills her grandfather would have certainly admired. Clarity and conviction fueled her words, and she witnessed a shift in the room as her passion resonated with her audience. Then came the difficult moment. The financial manager's expression shifted from skepticism to contemplation. He leaned forward, intrigued. "I believe we might need to conduct a more thorough investigation into these claims. However, you must realize this could become very complicated." As the weight of his acknowledgement settled in, the knot in her chest loosened. She had stepped forward, not just as a woman in a male-dominated field but as a force to be reckoned with. This was not just about professional credibility, it was about embodying the integrity she had always championed. Turning to Michael, she noted the glimmer of pride in his eyes. She felt a rush of affirmation. She hadn't just demanded accountability, she had demonstrated her worth as an equal partner. Together, they had unearthed truths that would change the course of their careers. "Thank you for considering a deeper investigation," she replied, a mix of relief and triumph washing over her. "We believe it's essential to ensure transparency at all levels." For the first time, she felt the recognition she had long craved. It was not about victory over Michael, nor a battle against the establishment, it was about the proud culmination of all she had fought for both professionally and personally. As the meeting concluded, the financial manager's commitment to pursuing the investigation left Sarah and Michael energized and validated. They were achieving what had once seemed impossible, the hard work was paying off, and her dreams were now tangible realities. Walking out of the conference room, the world outside felt different. The sunlight now cascaded through the glass windows in a triumphant display of golden rays. They had navigated the storm together, and the emotional distance that once loomed felt smaller. "Sarah," Michael said, grabbing her attention. "That was incredible. Your strength, your conviction, it made a difference." A warmth spread through her chest, a reassuring contrast to the tension that had threatened to overwhelm her. "I couldn't have done it without you. This was our success." Facing his gaze, she re-evaluated their partnership. This wasn't merely about exposing corruption anymore, it was about trust, accountability, and acknowledging the unique position they held in one another's lives. This was growth, not just as allies but as individuals. The days ahead would be challenging. Uncovering the truth invited scrutiny, but it also solidified their bond. They had proven not only their competence but also a shared commitment to integrity. As they walked through the construction site together, she felt a sense of solid confidence wash over her. "I'm proud of us," she declared, the quiet conviction in her voice underscoring her words. "We did this." In that moment, she understood the true significance of the journey. She had grown from uncertainty to an established recognition of her capability. Each step taken had brought her closer not only to her career aspirations but to a newfound clarity of self. As she reflected on her transformation, she felt invigorated by the knowledge that her feelings for Michael had not weakened her resolve but had woven a stronger foundation for both personal and professional growth. They would face the repercussions together. They were each other's allies in a world fraught with risk. Walking away from the construction site, Sarah embraced the lightness in her spirit. She had conquered her fears, accomplished her professional mission, and forged meaningful connections with the people around her. In the wake of this experience, she made a vow to maintain her commitment to truth and integrity, no matter the costs. She had achieved something far more substantial than she ever imagined. This was now a turning point in her life. She was ready to take on any challenge that lay ahead. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Your insights matter. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share.